1078 officer in need.
What's up, guys? It's Matt from the 1078 Project. Hey, if you're new to the organization, a little bit about us. The 1078 Project is a non-profit organization that's been founded and developed by law enforcement officers who have been involved in critical incidents and officer-involved shootings. Our goal at the 1078 Project is to provide mental, spiritual, and practical support to law enforcement officers as they navigate the difficult times surrounding an officer-involved shooting. With that being said, let's dive into today's episode, and I'll see you on the other side, boys. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the podcast. Today's guest is a homicide detective in Miami and the co-founder of the Bleeding Blue nonprofit. Today's guest is Danny Morales.
So we have different LPR systems. We have actually like 4 different ones. So we use Flock in like the further south area of our county, and we have Vigilant Solutions, which is pretty common around different states. And then our county, again, because it doesn't make sense, we did it. They started their own LPR system. So, but those guys literally bypassed every single LPR. And the one that they were about to hit in the intersection, there ended up being an ambulance. They're responding to a call. So they saw emergency lights and sirens, and they veered off onto the side road. So we weren't able to get the tag on those cars. Oh yeah.
And that one haunts you?
I've done, like you said, your friend that dug so deep into a case and has tried everything in his power to try and solve it. I've tried it all. I've spent some of the county's money, a good amount of the county's money doing that. So.
Yeah. So that one sticks with you. What's the one that you're the most proud of? Like the one that you're like, hey, I really put the pieces together here. Is there any of those?
Yeah. So we respond to. It actually didn't start off as my case. We respond to North Side, which is one of our busier districts, and it's a male that was shot, pushed out of a car and shot. And we had 2 witnesses that observed that portion of the incident, and they ended up staying on scene and telling us, hey, the victim was inside the car. They push him out, they shoot him. That's all I know. So we get some video. We take off we have a subject vehicle, make and model that we're running with. We're able to track them for like about a mile on video, and then we lose them because he gets on the highway. And we identify the victim. We're going through the motions. 2 days into the case, I end up identifying the car and locating it, and I'm sitting on the car myself. I call my sergeant, he's sleeping. I call the lead detective, he's sleeping. And, finally I wake somebody up and they're just like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm working. Like, I don't know, what do you want me to do? So everyone gets up on our day off and we're just going. And that case the lead detective ended up telling me, he's like, hey, since you've done everything on this case, it's yours now. And he's like, good luck, you're not solving this. I said, all right, cool. So it actually ends up being he was 25 years old. I end up associating the subjects to him. They were all his friends. And basically they were trying to rob him for a gold chain that he had on. It took me about a year and a half to actually build up enough evidence to arrest all 3 of them. And I did it all by myself. I literally typed 26 warrants by myself. The only thing I used the help of my team was to go grab these guys. And even then, I grabbed them at court because they had other open court cases. So they were just there for moral support. So that was actually a pretty cool case. I was able to, I became really good friends with the victim's mother. She's probably one of the only people that has my personal cell phone number. And, she calls me all the time, and she's very grateful. So that case is still active. It's still going. But we have a pretty solid case.
That's awesome. What's it like getting those dudes into the interview room, like sitting down to talk when you have this huge case together? What's it like sitting down? Are you exhilarated by it, or are you nervous?
I don't like interviewing. That's just my thing. I rather a more senior guy interview, and for me, it's kind of like, it is nerve-wracking. It's like, damn, what if I fuck this up and this guy doesn't go through Miranda? If I can't get through Miranda, this whole thing's done. And so sometimes it's more
Mm-hmm.
of the strategic aspect. We're like, okay, if you have a black subject in the box, like it may be smarter to get a black interviewer, that can relate with them. If you didn't have that initial rapport with them right off the rip, it's not worth going into that box and just ruining everything. So you kind of just got to play it out and be smart about it. Um, if I have to go in the box, I'll go in the box and talk to them. It is what it is. It's the job. It's your case. You're going to know it more than anybody else. But we definitely have enough people to sit there in that team aspect and use everybody that we can.
So do you have guys that are like that's what they specialize in is the interview portion? Like you may be an investigator and that's what you're best at, but you have other guys like, hey, if I get this dude, I know if I can get him in the interview room with this dude,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
gonna
So
get
I've
somewhere.
actually seen it. We had a triple homicide. Well, I won't call it a triple homicide. The guy did three different murders, um, three completely different cases. And by the time we grabbed him, obviously you have three different detectives handling each case. So it was like a discussion of like, all right, who's the best person to get him through Miranda? And then so we picked one of like the senior guys. He's like this big tall teddy bear and very old, like his shirt's all like out of his pants and he's just like, I don't want to be here type thing. So that mentality for that subject is probably like, oh, I'm gonna step all over this dude. Yeah, I'll talk to him and sell him a dream. So the moment we get through Miranda, all right, that's when the guns come in, and that's when you got those detectives that are just hard asses. They're just going to scream at you and you know get you to talk. So it's actually pretty cool to
uh,
watch.
Interesting. Yeah, it seems like it'd be a pretty interesting dynamic. And also it's probably the best way to do it. If you have a guy that's really good into the investigations, that's what he likes to do, and give him that. You have another guy that's really into interviewing, give him that. It seems like a lot of times in police work we want everyone to be good at everything.
Yeah,
That makes sense. You want a guy to be the most tactical guy, you want to be a good investigator. Sometimes not everybody's going to be good at everything. Sometimes dudes are just really good at one thing. Like we have a guy that we work with, he handles almost all of our major crimes. If we get a homicide, he's the guy that's dealing with it. We don't get anywhere near 215 a year. But if we have one, that's gonna, Matt's gonna get it. Like that's the guy who's gonna get it, and that's what he's known. He's like the fastball pitcher. Like that's what
yeah.
he.
There's definitely
That's his
someone for
thing.
everyone, for every role in homicide, and that's kind of what I like about it is that team aspect. And you can't have pride here. Like if you come in with pride and you have an ego, it's gonna get shut down. Because no matter how long you've been there, there's always something new happening. There's always some new technology. There's always a different way to approach it, and you're gonna get shit on. So it's like you have to work with your team. There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
Yeah. So obviously, being in homicide, you're overexposed to like everything negative. Like you're over, like literally, your whole job is to go
Yeah.
be with dead people. Like that's the, like it doesn't go to homicide unless somebody dies. So what are like? Does your police department provide any resources for you as a way to like, do they give you any counseling options or anything like that, or have you went out of your way to try and get any counseling, or is there like how do you spiritually or how do you mentally deal with all of the terrible things that you would see through a
And
career in
so, I mean, our
homicide?
department, being one of the largest departments in the Southeast region, we have a psych services unit within the department. So I believe it's like five psychologists or therapists that work within, and it's free. It's free to the officer and their family. That's something that I will never use personally. I don't want to go to psych services within my department. Everyone's different. I have
Mm-hmm.
sought out, therapy outside of work, actually paid for without my insurance. And, I'm a Christian, so obviously I believe in God and I pray and I go to church and, but I think a big thing for me is staying busy. Talking about it is huge.
Yeah.
So me and my partner are very good at, if you just went to a baby death, the baby drowns, that affected me. I'm gonna call her and I'm gonna be like, yo, this is what's going on. This is what I'm thinking about. This is messed up. Can we talk about it? Can we have a drink? Can we, do something about it? And, you have to have that open
Yeah.
communication with the people that work around you because they're the ones that are going to understand. I can't come home to my girlfriend and be like, hey babe, this baby drowned. She's just gonna cry with me, and I don't need someone else crying with me.
Yeah.
I need someone to uplift me. So it's a
Yeah.
little different.
Yeah.
Everyone's different, and the department does give us those resources. Unfortunately, I don't think that it's as readily accessible as they say it is, and I don't think that they promote it as much. Um,
Yeah, the fear too is like for guys, like what you just said at the very beginning is like I would never go to that. And I know the reason probably why you'll never go to that is you don't want to go, you don't want to cross those two worlds. You don't want to cross the work and the I'm not okay world. Like the fear is like who is your alliance really? Like who are you aligned with? Are you really here to help me? Or are you really here for the department that I work for? And if I really am vulnerable, I'm really open and I'm really honest and I say something to you, um, are you going to go tell my bosses? You know, and I think a lot of departments, like there's been this big push for, mental health in law enforcement, and it's a lot of departments are like, okay, well, we can do it. Like we can get a counselor, or we can get a person to be at the police department. And I think that a lot of times they're going to run into what you just said. Their guys aren't going to utilize those resources because they're afraid of the stigma and they're afraid of where the alliance really lies. Is that the reason why
yeah,
you won't see the
yeah.
people
So
that
it's definitely that. I mean,
that's what I thought.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's the same for everybody else, right? And they make it seem like it's like this confidential thing. Um, and it may be, right? Because I'm not speaking from experience, but from what I have seen, they're like, oh, it's you come in one door, you go out the back, and it's not in the police department's building. So if you see an officer in that parking lot, you know why they're there, you know, or you see someone walking out that
Yeah.
back door. They're not coming here to the tax office that's there. They're leaving psych services. And regardless, like good for them. I'm glad they're getting that help that they need. But there's probably people out there that are not like me that are
Hmm.
just ashamed of being seen leaving psych services and stuff like that. I don't care. I'm open about talking about it. I actually try to push it and encourage people to go. I personally don't want to see my therapist
Hmm.
at a retirement party or anything like that. Keep work is work, and my private life is my private life.
Yeah. That's kind of what we try to do with 1078. Like we have 3 law enforcement competent counselors that are not related to any police department. They don't work for any police department. They are all just one is the wife of a police officer who died in the line of duty. Another one's a police officer himself. He ended up getting shot in the line of duty and killed the suspect, and now he's a counselor. Got out of law enforcement, became a counselor, and then the other one has been working with first responders for like 30 years or 20 years, I mean. And it's it's that degree of separation. You know what I mean? Like the guys that go see these people, they have no association with their
Yeah.
work whatsoever. Like the two worlds don't cross. There's no possibility that they're going to contact their work and say, "Hey, did you hear about this or did you hear about that?" And that's true confidentiality. It's like there's no possible way that that's going to happen. And I think that's what guys are looking for. Like for me in particular, like I talk about my own mental health all the time, so I don't really have a problem. Like I talk about it on a podcast that's literally all over the place. People call me from California, like so. Like I have no problem discussing my own mental health. I'm not afraid to say that things that I've done in my career bother me, but I think other guys don't really want. They want it to be truly confidential and truly hidden, and that to be their time to cry and for nobody outside of that room to ever hear a
I
word
mean,
about it.
everyone's definitely different, man. I think that one of the it's situational based, right? Am I struggling because of work incidents? Maybe somebody will relate with me because I've gone through something similar at work. Or am I going through issues with my wife at home, or my finances, or my kid having some you know birth defect that's affecting me that I don't know how to control it, or whatever it is. Honestly,
Hmm.
everyone's a little different. And I like the fact that there's organizations like yours that are out there, different organizations that are available to these officers. My biggest heartache is that people don't know about them. And if people don't know about them and the word's not being spread,
Yeah.
that help for them is not, they're not getting it. So what do they know? Psych services, their department, or what is it? I think everyone
Hmm.
else calls it EAP. Yeah. So if
EAP.
that's
Yeah.
all they know
Yeah.
and that's not where I want to go, what's my solution? well, either I commit suicide, or I get a divorce, or I go cheat on my wife, or I go into bankruptcy, or all the negative effects of it, rather than seeking those free resources that are out there.
Dude, you're 100% right, man. Like 100%. I went through an officer-involved shooting, and there wasn't a single organization, not one, not a single organization that reached out to us, to me or my wife, and said, "Hey, just so you know, we're here." And that's why we take a proactive approach now. So obviously, as the organization grows, we'd like to be a national organization and be able to operate in Florida and be able to operate. We just sent a basket to Stockton, California. But if you're in like the St. Louis, Illinois area, like
Yeah.
we're coming to you. Like you get involved in an officer-involved shooting, I'm going to make contact with your police department. I'm going to make sure your admin's okay with giving me your information. I'm going to call you on the phone, and I'm going to come over and I'm going to have dinner with you. My wife and I are going to sit down with you and your wife. We're going to have food because that's where relationships are built, is over food. We're going to talk about God. We're not going to talk about God, depending on what their status is. And we're going to give them all these mental health resources. And like, cops, I know cops. We don't go out of our way to
For anything.
to fix ourselves.
For
We're bad
anything.
at that. Yeah. We fix other people. You know what I mean? Like, we're the fixers. We don't go out of our way to fix ourselves. It could be, I rolled my ankle 2 weeks ago. It's like, we don't go to the doctor about rolling our ankle. Like, we just don't do that. And it's even more so with the stigma surrounding mental health. It's guys aren't going to go out of their way to get right in their own mind. So it like you just said, it has to be like, people have to know you're there, and you have to be like right in front of them. Like, we make it so simple. Like, all they have to do is call one phone. Like, we give them a phone number. Like, here's a face sheet for a counselor. All you have to do is call that number. You call that number, they'll set up an appointment for you.
Yeah, I mean, there's so
It's
many
that simple.
good resources out there. People like you guys you and your wife, that are going out of their way to help everybody. And unfortunately, it's just that social media isn't everything. Right? There's people out there that are suffering, that don't have
Mm-hmm.
social media and are not getting access to all these things. So what do we got to do? We got to bridge
Yeah.
that gap. So it's little things like this that
Yeah.
organizations like ours that do bridge that gap, that bring everybody together and then just talk about these things. If you're just a regular Joe Schmo cop, I'm just a regular Joe Schmo cop. Hey, if Danny and Matt are talking about it, why can't I
Mm-hmm.
talk about it?
Yeah. Well, let's first off, is there any other homicides that you want to talk about? Any other that you think are cool that people want to hear
I mean, they're
before we jump into
they're
Bleeding
they're all
Blue?
definitely pretty cool, man. I think each and every one of them has
Yeah.
his own taste. But if I will definitely invite anybody out to come do a ride along if they want. So
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, maybe I'll do
come on
that.
down, bro.
I've never been to Miami
You
ever.
gotta.
I want to go. Yeah. Let's talk about Bleeding Blue.
So Bleeding Blue, a nonprofit organization that my brother and I started, and we started it about 18, 19 months ago, November of 2022. The inspiration came from one of our officers that was shot and killed in the line of duty. Cesar Echeverry, he was in the robbery intervention unit, basically like a jump out team for robberies, and chasing a subject. It was a car chase. Guy gets out and start pursuing a foot chase. The guy displays a gun. She shoots. The guy shoots. They both shoot each other. And unfortunately, Etchi was killed, and that was tough. I didn't know him personally. He was about my age. He was engaged. Um, I worked with him and know about him because my brother was a supervisor. So my brother calls me immediately. And
Oh
it's
man.
kind of crazy because my brother, when he called me, I was like, "Hey, who is it?" He goes, "I don't know. There's just an officer down. Let's haul ass to the hospital." So I'm sitting here 15 minutes away from the hospital. I'm like, "Cool." I put my clothes on and I go. And I'm calling my brother back and I'm like, "Hey, who is it?" He's like, "It's Caesar." And what he told me was that the first person that he called when he heard that it was robbery was Caesar, and Caesar wasn't answering his phone. So I knew that my brother was going to be pretty shaken
Mm.
up, and so I went there to help him out, just be by his side, support anybody else that's out there, and I ended up getting pulled in and working in a homicide um, aspect. So they sent me up to the room with the parents, and I basically stood by the body the entire week. and sat next to the parents in a rotation between all of us. And, I wasn't even supposed to be there, but I felt like I needed to be there. So that was one incident. We ended up raising some money for that family. We made a challenge coin. I think we donated. That was like the first fundraiser, was like a little over 15,000. And then right after that, one of our good friends, actually one of my business partners, was shot by his girlfriend in a domestic violence incident. So basically, he's headed to work in the morning, 6:30 in the morning. Crazy ex-girlfriend. She's been Baker acted, DV history, and and like any other DV victim, he was like, no, no, I'm gonna drop the charges. He drops the charges. That was Damien. Damien was just has a big heart, and she shows up one day. She was actually a cop for our school board unit, and she gets fired for all the mental health stuff. And some way, somehow, she got her hands on a gun, shows up, shoots him in the head, takes off. We end up getting into custody, and Damien was in critical condition for quite some time, and he's still alive today. He's not himself. He can't do anything physical or neurological at the same time, so it's either one or the other. He'll definitely never be the same.
Really?
This was a guy that was like always out there playing sports. He was a business owner. He owned one of our local like police shops. So anything that any fundraiser, anything like that, Damien was making the shirts for it. He was always at the academy trying to get them new hats and new jackets and stuff like that. Like he was that guy. And this shit happens to him. Small world is that when I worked at the pharmacy, his dad was my patient. And his dad was one of the first people that I told that I was becoming a cop. And he was like, oh my God, like, Danny, give me all your info. I'm going to give your info to my son. Both my sons are cops, they'll take care of you. And sure as shit, his other son becomes my sergeant. And so I know the whole entire family before this incident happened. So when this happened, it was very close to home. And so we took it upon ourselves to, be the first ones to do some type of fundraiser, knowing that, this was going to cost money for recovery, or, even the expense of paying for his store that was no longer going to be open because he was the only one that ran the store. And that's how Bleeding Blue started. We ended up deciding to make it legit.
Sorry to interrupt the episode, but we got some big, exciting things happening with 1078. As you guys know, we sell merch, and that's been going pretty well. We decided to drop 2 more t-shirts, one of which I think you guys will think is hilarious. Head over to the website, www.1078project.com. Click the merch button. It will take you to our merch store, where you can purchase a shirt. Just so you guys know, all the proceeds from those shirts, all the profits from those shirts are getting donated back to the nonprofit, and it's a way for us to continue to do the work that we have been doing. Also, we have big news as well. We're having a trivia night. It's on 9/20. If you're looking to attend the trivia night, again, go to the website, www.1078project.com. Go to the events tab, and you can register. All the information that you'll need is there. Guys, this is a really big deal to us. This is the way that we fund all of our operations. If you're a business, you're looking to sponsor the trivia night, again, you can reach out to us, or you can go to the website, to the event tab. All of our contact information will be on there. Hit us up. We'd love to have your support. We've also loved to have you guys at the trivia night. I'll stop talking so we can get back to the episode. Awesome, dude. First off, one thing that I wanted to ask you is, if there's a police involved, like if a police officer gets killed, does homicide investigate it? Your own homicide division investigates that police
So
officer's death?
FDLE, so the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, will come out and handle the actual homicide portion of it. We'll handle the predicate crime.
Okay.
But because FDLE uses our resources, crime scene, our lab, and stuff like that, we monitor the investigation.
Wow.
Yeah.
Weird. That's insane. So what's Bleeding Blue doing
So
now?
our main focus is supporting injured and fallen law enforcement families, and that can go with anywhere from, when I say injured, off-duty or on-duty incidents. We've helped with both, and lately we had a pretty devastating incident recently with one of our police directors, who is the top person in the department, attempted suicide, actually, while at the sheriff's conference in Central Florida. And he was headed home after that conference. I guess the story on the streets is that he was having an affair, confirmed or not confirmed, whatever the details are. He's still trying to kill himself. Um, he ultimately survived, and he lost an eye, and he is now in like an administrative role. But when that incident occurred, because of who he is, it touched a lot of people's hearts. And he was that type of chief that he didn't care about rank. You would see him in the hallway, he'll stop and take the time to ask you about your day and anything and everything. And everyone respected him as an officer because he was a respected sergeant, lieutenant, captain, chief, all the way up. He was respected. And I realized that nobody was doing anything. It was just, hey, Freddie shot himself. And I was like, okay, look, there's no fundraisers. We know that he didn't need the money. We know that the mayor was going to pay for anything. He was at work, so it's workman's comp. But there was still nothing being done. So I called my brother and I was like, let's do something. And we hosted a prayer night. And once I announced it, everybody jumped on board. All the other organizations were like, oh yeah, we're all in, whatever you need. But no one wanted to put their name behind it. And it was kind of sad, honestly. Mm-hmm. And we're at this prayer session. There's a bunch of chiefs. There's a bunch of directors and stuff like that. The mayor came out to it. And while we're there, my brother is outside. He receives a phone call. And somebody that I went to the police academy with ends up tells him on the phone, hey, don't tell Danny, but the director didn't do it right, and I'm going to kill myself the right way. And it kind of sucked because this was someone that I was pretty close with in the academy. Like, I know her kids. Like, we used to go drinking together, partying together, study together, go to the gym together, cry together in the academy, like take her kids out on the weekends. And she felt so ashamed that she couldn't tell me that, I guess in a sense, she knew she had to call. But even then, just like the director didn't do it right because he failed to kill himself. If you're going to do it the right way, was pretty crazy to me. So my brother and I were talking about it, and we were like, imagine how many other people in this 5,000 police officer department are feeling the same way. So we started a little mission called Just Ask. Mm-hmm. Just ask us for help. Just ask us for friendship. Just ask us for conversation. Just ask us for anything. We're not therapists. We're not your support team members. But if you need something, I'm going to find it. I'm going to figure out a way to get you what you need, get you whatever you want. Because
you have my personal phone number, dude. If you ever, like, somebody's ever at that point and they need counseling, we will figure out a way to make sure that
definitely now, for sure. Like, it's gotten to a point where we've met so many great people like you guys, and it's, we're able to steer people in the right direction. And because of this incident, because of these conversations that we've had with some people that have reached out to us, we launched this conference. And it's expensive as shit, but I put it on a credit card and I said, I'm doing this for the right reason, and God's going to take care of it. And I thank God it did.
100% agree with you, dude. 100% agree with you. I've been doing the same exact thing with 1078. It's like just wondering where the next money's going to come to make it happen. But at the end of the day, God is greater than all that, and He's going to figure it out. You know what I mean? If I'm doing and you're doing the things that we're doing for the right reasons, God's going to figure that part out for us. You know what I mean? And you guys are doing it for the right reason. So, one thing I didn't ask you, like, you kind of touched on it on your own. Obviously, I don't hide my faith, talk about faith on the podcast literally every single episode because it's important to me. You kind of mentioned that you, like, when bad things happen, you pray about it or you'll spend time talking to God about it. How has law enforcement affected your relationship with God? Has it made it better? Has it made it more difficult? Have you questioned your faith? How has it really affected like that relationship?
I would definitely say because of my schedule, it's tough for me to actually go to physically to a church. Um, I don't have a
Hmm.
normal 9 to 5. I don't have a set schedule where I'm not getting called out or anything like that. And I think that's just the homicide life. Maybe when I go to a different unit, it'll be a little different. So I can't remember the last time that I walked into a physical church, but I can tell you that I believe in God and I believe in, you know, everything that He provides for us, and He's our Lord and Savior, and that is our strength. And thankfully, now I've actually have two chaplains that are on my board, and we have access to a first responder church. It's more like an office, but we've made it a church. Where first it's like a safe space
Hmm.
for officers to come, and it's Christian. It's a Christian based organization, and you don't have to go into a church to believe in God and have that relationship with God. So that's something I believe in.
Hmm. Yeah, I think church is just a way to fill the cup up. It's like, it's important, but biblically, when they talk about church, they're talking about a group of people. They're not talking about like a
Yeah,
physical building all the time. Um, so church is important because it's a way to, fill your cup up and be around other Christians and to, hear somebody a lot smarter than me talk about God. But at the end of the day, like real Christianity is about a relationship. It's about walking with God. It's about doing. It's about, you know, being a fisher for men. That's what real Christianity is about. So
absolutely.
I agree with you. Um, I've just found like a lot of times cops kind of like the difficulties of our job taint their view of God a little bit. And it's heartbreaking to me because for me, God has always been like the backbone to everything. Like for everything I didn't understand, for everything that I was frustrated about, for everything that I couldn't like put like a worldly explanation to, I just kind of give it to God and I don't have to really worry about it. It's like my place to put all my anxieties and all my problems on that I can't fix myself. Um, so it's heartbreaking to see guys kind of turn their back on God because the world is full of bad things, you know.
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing is that you probably get like we get caught up in the everyday life, and you're seeing so many negative things, and you're just why is this happening? Why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to my family? And you start questioning your faith, and you start questioning why something's happening, and you have to always just rely on Him and pray with it, and you're being challenged. That's the devil challenging you. That's just a speed bump in your pathway to happiness, your pathway to success. And if you stick with your faith, I think that everything lines up, no matter how long it takes. I think everything lines up with the way that it's supposed to be. When you try to do things on your own way and you
Yeah.
pick your own path, you pretty quickly get reminded on, okay, this is God telling me I should have followed His path. So
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So let's dive into your conference. First off,
July
when is
20th.
it? Okay. And how can people register if they
So
wanted
we're
to go?
selling seats on our website. It's our website will take you to the Eventbrite link where you can purchase a ticket. It's $45, catered breakfast and lunch. So 7 to 8 hour schedule right now. We have three speakers coming in and a bunch of mental health resources available.
Yeah. I know Megan's going there. Megan's awesome. I like her a lot. She's a
Yeah,
good person. And her story's insane. People really enjoy hearing it. I haven't got the opportunity to meet the other two guys that are going, but um, I think people really enjoy hearing Megan's story, and I think it'll put a good spin. She's super open, super honest. She talks a lot about. She's like very real about her story and her own mental health journey, and I think sometimes cops just need to hear that to be reminded that um, it's okay if you're not always super stoic and have everything figured out. And she does a good
yeah.
job of
So
explaining that.
Travis was somebody that we just saw on social media, and actually it was one of my sergeants were just like,
Yeah.
"Hey, have you seen this guy?" And I was like, "No." And I watched like 20 of his videos, and I was like, "Shit!" I called him, and I did an inquiry on his website, and within 2 minutes he called me back. And that's exactly what we needed, because I was in that headspace where I was like, someone told me I couldn't do this, and because you called me right now, we're fucking doing this. And that's when I put, he has a speaking
Yeah.
fee. We put it on a credit card and, figured out the rest as we went. I didn't even have a venue at that point. And, started making phone calls. We made it happen. Megan was our second speaker. I messaged her on Instagram. And like you said, she's awesome. She's very communicative, and she makes things happen. And at the end of the day, her story is insane. I told her, I tell her all the time, I'm like, I don't know why you still live
Hmm.
in California. You need to get out of there. Yeah,
I would be out,
I was
dude.
actually in
Yeah,
San Diego
I'd be
last week
gone.
for training, and I was asking people, I was like, how are you a cop here? It makes no sense. Um, it's
I don't know
wild,
how they do it.
wild.
At least like in Florida, you may work for like a relatively not the most supportive like city, but at least the governor is super supportive of you guys and ensures that I mean, he's had passed laws to protect
Hmm.
Florida's cops like pretty significantly, and California does the
Yeah,
exact
it's kind of
opposite of that. I
it's
don't know
kind of
how
crazy
people
because
do it,
I mean,
man.
San Diego was beautiful. The restaurants were great. The views were great.
I need to make a connection for you and the guys from the Overwatch Collective. I
Yeah,
think that'd
I
be a
know.
good connection. So when we get off of here, I'll shoot you their information.
That'd be
I
pretty
think
cool.
you'd like them. Um, so did you say where the
Yeah, so we're
conference is
hosting it
at?
at FIU, Florida International University. It's a local university there in Miami, and it's in a conference center that we have there, and it's the space is for up to 650 people. So we're halfway there. We've sold out a lot more than what we thought we would get. I think we're in the 375 range right now, which is honestly for the first time that this conference is being held. It's actually pretty impressive that not many people are willing to come and sit there and listen to these stories.
Yeah. Did you give out your website so people know where to go and purchase?
Yeah,
Is it just Bleeding Blue?
bleedingblue.info.
.info. Okay. Um, and we'll put it in like the show notes and everything. So anybody that listens to the podcast that may be close to there and wants to travel down
Yeah,
to Miami to have a little fun, could also.
have
Um,
having fun is
I'm gonna try and
your
talk my
mental
wife into coming
wellness.
down there.
Mm.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is. It's important to have fun. It's important to be able to let loose every so often. Um, Sometimes cops take themselves way too seriously. It's important to be able to be stupid
well,
sometimes.
love to have you there. I mean, if you can convince your wife for a
Um,
Miami trip, you can tell her the beaches are great. It's summer. Our weather is kind of off
yeah,
and on right now, but I mean, I'm sure. I always tell everybody that when we do these events, the weather's always going to end up coming out great because we're doing it for the right reason and God's got our back. So I guarantee that weekend will be beachy.
yeah,
So you can tell your wife that.
yeah. I want to go down there just because I'm trying to get into the public speaking world a little bit. So it'd be nice to watch the other guys be able to see that what they do and how they run their their talks. I guess is the right word to use. But yeah, I'm gonna try and make my way down there. If nothing else, just to support you guys. I love what you guys are doing, and we need more organizations out there that are taking control of uh of our own people. 'Cause there's tons of organizations out there that are run by people that are not in law enforcement, and unfortunately, those organizations don't do a very good job of supporting law enforcement guys because they don't understand us. We're different from a lot of other professions. We're different from a lot of other people. We view the world through a different lens than a lot of other people. So organizations that are supporting cops that are ran by cops, I think, kind of make the difference on providing the actual resources that are needed to making sure other cops are good. So um, we want to support
Yeah,
you guys
and
in
it's
any
going
way
to
that
be
we can.
actually
So
pretty cool
try
because
and
it's
make
one of
our way
these
down there.
conferences that it's more than one speaker. So you're getting different views from different people, different parts of the United States that have experienced different things. Like Travis is a retired police and firefighter. Um, you know, John was
Hmm.
involved in that Breonna Taylor case, which made national news. And he was shot in that incident. So it's just like you're getting three different tastes of the same medicine almost, in different ways. So
Hmm.
it's actually
Yeah.
pretty neat. Um, I'm pretty stoked. I'll be happier once it's over and everything ran perfectly, and I'm just like, all right, this was a good outcome. But
Yeah.
it is stressful to put together. I'll be sitting front row. I need that. I need that energy. But
Yeah. How are you managing homicide and this nonprofit at the same time? What are you doing
it's
to take
tough,
care of
man.
yourself?
It's actually very tough. I thankfully I have the support from
I feel you.
my family, my girlfriend, my coworkers that pick up some slack. But at the end of the day, no matter what, it's yours. It's your organization, and if you want it to run right, like any other business, whether it's for profit or not for profit, it's you have to be involved all the way. So I play competitive paintball. I travel for paintballing. Um, try to engage in sports. Last night was a date night. We went out, had some wine, and did pottery, trying something new. With the girlfriend. So, something different. We try
Pretty
different
cool.
stuff every time. And, if I gotta go to work, I gotta go to work. Like tomorrow, I'm on call. It's my day off. It is what it is. So, but
Yeah.
I have a lot of fun hosting these events. On Saturday, I'm hosting a beer festival. Last week, I was down in the Florida Keys. We were able to give money to two injured officers down there. So I find that my passion is in bleeding blue, and it's actually like a getaway from the actual stressor. Doesn't make any sense, but it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, being able to give back always fills my cup up too, and I think you're in that same world of like when you see other guys doing well and you're able to give back to other guys and put them in a position where you feel like they're doing better than they were before they met you. It's like the ultimate
Yeah.
uplift. It makes all the other stuff, the bylaws and the
Hmm.
board meetings and the getting packages together and fundraising, which is the worst part of everything, and the networking and the constant phone calls and all the other, it makes all of it worth it just to see one guy, doing better than he was whenever you
Absolutely.
first met him. So that's what keeps me motivated. I'm getting an ice bath from Sauna Box is sending me an ice bath. So
Yeah, let
I'll
me
let you
know.
know how that works. Supposedly I'm supposed to get a 250% increase in my dopamine levels. So if it works, I'll try and
That's
see if I
pretty
can
dope.
get one down to you.
I'm always willing to try some new stuff.
Yeah, I won't take up any more time today. Yeah, me too. I won't take up any more of your time, considering we spent like an hour trying to figure out how we are going to get on a podcast together. But um, I'll whatever you got, like shoot it over to my Instagram so I can promote your event too. I'd love for it to be super successful and for you guys to get as many people as you can there. And then I appreciate your time and what you're doing and homicide and everything you're doing with Bleeding Blue. Just, everybody always says this to me, so I'll say it to you. Make sure you're taking care of yourself and make sure you're investing in yourself. Hitting up that, therapist if you need one, or working out or doing whatever you need to do to make sure you're staying in the right place of mind, because what you're doing is important and people need it. And if we burn out, then, who's going to do the hard work?
Absolutely, bro. Definitely appreciate you having us on here and exposing what we're doing down in Florida. And again, just like you, hopefully we can make it nationwide. And this is a friendship and a business partnership that it's gonna continue to grow, and we're gonna work together, and it's gonna be great. So,
What's up, guys? Thanks for hanging in there to the end of the episode. I just want to take a second to thank Danny. Head over to their Instagram, Bleeding Blue. Make sure you are supporting their organization. They're doing fantastic work in Miami. Also, go to our website, www.1078project.com. Register for your trivia night table. Buy your merch. We appreciate all your support. It's the way that we continue to do all the work that we have been doing. Until next week, I'll see you on the other side, boys.